Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the January 7th meeting of the Ridgecrest City Council. Thank you for your patience with our technical challenges, and hopefully we will be able to get through them with some slight adjustments this evening. We're going to go ahead and run the meeting with the original published agenda for the 6th, and we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order with roll call.
Mayor Bruin.
Here.
Mr. Maurer.
Here.
Mr. Heyman.
Present.
Mr. Rajaratnam.
Here.
Mr. Blades.
Present.
5 present. We have a quorum.
Fantastic. Next item is the approval of the agenda. Since we will be going to closed session in the normal agenda fashion, there is no changes to the agenda needed. Can I have a motion for approval of the agenda as presented?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Mayor Bruin.
Aye.
Mr. Maurer.
Aye.
Mr. Heyman.
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam.
Aye.
Mr. Blades.
Aye.
5 ayes. Motion carries.
Fantastic. Next item is public comment before we go into closed session. Does anybody who'd like to make a comment on the closed session topic? I'm seeing no public comment. We're going to. Oh, you got one coming. Blue light?
Mm-hmm.
Blue means
Blue
good?
light.
Blue
Blue means
good?
it's going to him. Green means.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Yes. Do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yes,
you.
we can hear you.
Okay. Yes. Okay. My name is Mike Neal, and I have comment on this lawsuit, Ms. Pamperdith versus the city of Ridgecrest. This lawsuit addresses one of the most regretful situations in our city government to be made public in decades in Ridgecrest. The conduct alleged clearly has a basis in fact due to a settlement being negotiated. Thanks to the reporting by Jessica Weston, the people can know the facts of the case. When considered for a few moments, it is lurid and disgusting, something that should never be tolerated in the least. Yet, due to the reported fact that the alleged conduct resulted in only a demotion of the officer from captain to sergeant, it appears the gravity of this occurrence is not appreciated. So some questions are in order. I ask for you to carefully consider them as you go into closed session to discuss this. What is your opinion of the seriousness of this type of behavior? Is it something that needs a definitive response to and strong actions in the future to prevent reoccurrence in our city staff? Why does the only consequence of this action by a police captain appear to be penalizing our citizens by having them fund and pay a large settlement by their tax monies, along with only a one-step down demotion of the accused? I hold that what I see the city doing in response to this be insufficient. So let me ask, how would each of you feel, and what would you want to do if these pictures were sent to your wife or daughter? Do any of you think that a penalty of a simple demotion would have been all that was done if Ron Strand's sister-in-law, Rika Charlon, was a recipient of such pictures? How about if the chief's wife had received such? So think about it and ask yourself why it seemed to be a lesser concern because it happened to one less favored. Is this behavior not at least indecent exposure via photographic means? So why has no criminal charge been made? I can assure you that if a plain citizen had done such a thing, an arrest would be made. If you think this is criminal, will you call for such charges to be made? If this behavior is deemed as criminal, does this not warrant the firing of the city leaders who decided to only enact a demotion in response? Those are just to think about. Now, here's questions that I want to get an answer to at the appropriate time. What will the actions taken by the city be to clean this situation up and prevent future such offenses be, and when will these be told to the public? What will be the amount of this settlement? And exactly when can our citizens expect answers to these questions? Please do whatever is necessary to prevent such disgusting behavior in our city staff in the near future. Our employees deserve no less, and our city needs no further erosion of trust that such things inevitably cause. The citizens need to trust our police force and our city leadership. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other public comment? No other public comment. We're going to go ahead and move into closed session. Closed session is going to be entered into at 5:35 p.m., and we intend to come back out to regular session at 6 p.m.
You're good.
Okay. We are coming out of closed session. Thank you very much. Let's make sure that we're changed good. Okay. Attorney's report.
Okay, Lloyd, you're up.
We are out of closed session. Attorney's report.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Lloyd Pilchin, City Attorney. City Council met this evening in closed session on one item identified on the agenda, existing litigation. There was a report from staff. No final reportable action was taken. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. We're going to go ahead and move into regular session now. Can we go ahead and begin by asking everybody to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we have our invocation. And once again, I'm not the specialist at this, but we'll go ahead and quickly say, in the name of our Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, Lord, look over our world, look over our nation, and try to work on healing everyone's anger and upsetness over the events yesterday at our Capitol. Look out for our families and our friends, and especially those in our community struggling with and or in danger of COVID-19. Our entire community has struggled for the last year over these challenges, but we've found strength between each other. And I can ask you to continue to look over all of us in that process. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen.
Amen.
I am not the best at that, and I promise you I will get other people to do it in the future.
You did a good job.
You were good.
You got the job.
You didn't hear anybody criticize you.
You got it.
Not yet. So, you know, my wife says I'm still working on my good Catholic. So, next item is public comment on items not on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the council on matters that are within the council's jurisdictions and do not already appear on the agenda may do so at this time pursuant to the Brown Act. The City Council may not take action on the item that does not appear on the agenda, but speakers are limited to 5 minutes, and the public comment section of the agenda is limited to a total of 1 hour. Each speaker is asked to provide his name. Do I have any public comment?
Yes, we do.
And we have 1 public comment. Our MC, Ron Strand, is going to...
He's on.
Okay, caller, go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yes, my name is Mike Neal, and just like to make comment about a few things here. Number one, the recent election and particular election of Mr. Bruin to the position of mayor. I find that regrettable, and due to 2 facts. The fact that, number one, off such huge amounts of money from out-of-town entities all over the place were spent to the tune of like $4.50 per vote to get Mr. Bruin elected with 37%. So clearly not a majority. Lots of other people wanted other persons in this office. The more enlightening thing that most people should pay attention to, whoever happens to be listening, is when you get Eric Bruin, you don't just get Eric Bruin. You get his whole little backroom advisory board of Chip Holloway and Peggy Breeden and Sharon Gerard and I believe Ron Strand's normally in on a lot of those meetings off, used to be at various restaurants around town. This little group that meets and makes their little strategies as to how they want things to go in town. And, of course, the fact that we yet again have another council leader who thinks in terms of running government like a business. I've spoken to this countless times at council meetings in the past, and government simply cannot be run well run like a business. It's not a business. It's not a corporation for profit, and all this enlightening terms that you can tell when you read between the lines and you hear, statements by candidates who use all this business language like branding and so forth and so on. Just let me tell you, many people in this town are disgusted with the way business is being run in our government, and to run government like it's a corporation trying to make money, and all this huge emphasis on a continual call for, let's grow, let's get more business into town. Well, people want more businesses in town. They want the town taken care of. And even though we pushed to get the slurry machine so we could get the sad state of our streets fixed, we saw precious little activity actually last year, and yet we got the machine and we're supposed to have the personnel. So I would say if you don't see some real activity in that arena, people are just going to be saying, well, it's obvious they don't with that. Found a way to get it done for the 1/3 of the typical cost, but they're still not doing much. So, that's what I have to say about that. And just remember that you've got a lot of unhappy people in this country because of the COVID lockdowns, and yet we still see our city government keeping us out of the meetings. So they're just echoing what they're being told to do instead of doing what they know that the people want to do, which is to be involved. And this business of calling in on the phone is highly limiting. Just think about last night and how people are so discouraged with being involved with all this stuff. And you could just open up the building and let people in, but, you're not doing that. So people have to reach the conclusion that, you really like the excuse of not letting us in there. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any other public comment? No other public comment? We're going to go ahead and move on to council announcements. Any council announcements? I don't think we have any announcements or presentations. Next item is the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent are considered to be routine and non-controversial by city staff. Consent items may be approved by one motion if no member of the council or audience wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired by anyone, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the city council concerning the item before action is taken. I'll read each item. First item is proposed action to approve the draft minutes of the City of Ridgecrest City Council, Successor Redevelopment Agency, Finance Authority, and Housing Authority, regular meeting dated December 16, 2020. Next is to approve a resolution of the City of Ridgecrest City Council scheduling the date of the annual unmet transit needs public hearing and authorizing the city clerk to advertise the hearing. And third is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Ridgecrest authorizing the update and implementation of the Ridgecrest Transit Title VI Plan for 2021. Do any members of the council wish to have an item pulled?
Item 3, please.
Item 3 has been requested to be pulled. Does any member of the public wish to have an item pulled? Seeing none, do I have a motion to,
I move approval of the consent calendar items 1 and 2.
I have a motion for the approval of 1 and 2. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Roll call.
Mayor Bruin,
Aye.
Mr. Maurer,
Aye.
Mr. Heyman,
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam,
Aye.
Mr. Blades,
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
So item number 3 has been pulled. This is a resolution of the City Council for the City of Ridgecrest authorizing the update and implementation of the Ridgecrest Transit Title VI Plan for 2021. Mr. Smith?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of council.
You're not on.
Oh, there's a new button. Okay. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of council. We first took the Title VI update, I believe it was in late November. Update for 2020 has to be updated every 3 years. It was previously done in 2017, submitted to Caltrans for approval, and they kicked it back to us to update a couple items in it, specifically a public participation plan, some policies regarding such things as amenities at bus stops. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Let me look at my staff report. A safe harbor provision, which is provision that that governs the translation of written documents. And then we have to update if we've built any bus stops in that period, and then show that we've done a Title VI equity analysis. So all of that stuff was added to the new plan. With the exclusion of the Title VI equity analysis, there was a bus stop built during the time. We don't have an equity analysis, so we're working with Caltrans to do one retroactively.
So, Mr. Smith, so
Yes.
this report goes to Caltrans again for their approval?
Yes.
Okay. So we have incorporated all the changes they are requested then,
Yes.
right? Okay. I just have a couple of observations. If you
All
look
right.
at the resolution, go back, go down all the way, last but one sentence. You said the Ridgecrest Transit Title VI Plan 2020. I think that should be 2021.
Yes, it does sound like there is an error there.
I'm sorry, I mean, these are all small things I look at because I'm a banker.
I totally understand.
It's much appreciated, Solomon.
Mr. Rajaratnam, can I ask that you pull your mic a little bit closer? They can't hear you.
Sure.
It's with your mask and all. Thank you.
And you go into the program, the Title VI program, Ridgecrest Transit. You said 2020 City Council. I think it should be 2021 City Council.
Yeah, we can also make that change as well.
Okay.
Where was
Thank
that?
you, sir.
Where was that last one at, sir? Is it on the resolution as well?
It's on the
It's on the
first,
actual
the
report?
second page of the
Okay, thank you.
Title VI program itself.
Okay, and then we are going on the page number 4. It looks like we are competing with Guinness Book of World Records for the biggest word. Go to the second paragraph on page 4.
Oh yeah, there
Sorry
is
about that.
no space in that. Yeah, this document was actually very problematic. We had to take an old PDF, put it into a Word document, and then rebuild it, and it did lead to several formatting errors.
So many words are combined into one word there,
Right.
I think, so we need to make sure that it's correct. So go to page 7, please. So I think you mentioned this, Title VI equity analysis. So that will be done in the near future?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working on conducting it as soon as possible.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
No
I
problem.
appreciate it.
Any other council members?
Nope, good to go.
Okay, now do I have a motion for approval of the resolution?
Motion.
Chris, the only question I have is they've asked it to be 2021, but it has to be done every 3 years. If we make it 2021, does that put us out of compliance?
It should be then 3 years from the date that we are issued our new approval letter from Caltrans.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments? Any other public comments? I have a motion for approval of the resolution with the revisions as described.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, roll call.
Mayor Bruin,
Aye.
Mr. Maurer,
Aye.
Mr. Heyman,
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam,
Aye.
Mr. Blades,
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Next item on the agenda is continued discussion to appoint members to the council committees, boards, and commissions.
Yes.
I don't feel like we should do this.
I have one appointment to make.
Yeah, I'm going to state, I have somebody from personnel that I'd asked, but I didn't get a call back from them, and that was my fault.
Okay. Which one do you have, Mr. Maurer? We'll go with that one
I
first.
have, I'm the only one that hasn't appointed someone to Measure V. I think they're meeting next week. And so I am appointing, with the concurrence of the council, Chris Hill as my representative on Measure V.
Okay.
And Solomon, this does not conflict with your appointments.
No, I know. Sure.
That's what I was going to say, wasn't Mr. O appointed for, okay.
Yeah, he was appointed for the Handicap Access Appeal Board, but it's not a problem with him working on 2 committees.
And when I talked to him, he had no problem either.
Okay.
So we have 3 committees, which is the Personnel Commission, the Construction Appeals Board, and the Handicap Appeals Board, that need people seated. Does anybody have a nomination for citizens for those committees?
For the construction board, I intended to nominate Jerry Griffin, but I need to get a confirmation from him.
Okay.
If he does, he needs to fill out one of those forms.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And so, Rick, I've asked individuals, but I'm still at a
waiting.
standstill.
I'll put this back on the agenda one more time, and we'll just see if we can get some more seated. Is that all right with everybody?
One more time is we have to do it. Yes, ma'am.
We need to try and seat these citizen boards just because they haven't met in a long time, and I'll say 10-plus years, but if we do have an appeal to that direction, we need to have a seated board.
Yes, ma'am.
The other ones we have out there that I need to seat is we need a second for the RACVB. And I was looking over the appointed members already to committees, and it looks like Mr. Rajaratnam doesn't have as many as everybody else. So I was wondering if maybe he wanted to.
I'm just kidding.
You wanted to back up RACVB
Sure.
if everybody's in concurrence of that?
Yeah.
Okay. And then
Sounds like you just got voluntold.
just trying to make sure everybody gets involved.
I was going to volunteer for it, but since Solomon just took it, just took it right out of the chin.
Well, the next one would be the Kerncog, the alternate to Mr. Mauer. Is
So
anybody
I think that I was the alternate before,
You
and
were last year.
right, and so I would gladly serve in that capacity again if everybody's okay with that.
That's fine with me. I would have volunteered for the same, but Kyle knocks it out.
Now, also, you don't have to, under current rules, you don't have to drive over to Bakersfield. They will pay you mileage if you drive over there. But they pay you to attend the meeting, and whether you are there physically or you are on the phone or Zoom, you get paid to be at the meeting. Meetings normally last maybe an hour. There's 2 meetings, actually, and they last about an hour. If they open it back up where they're going to be going, they usually have a presentation from 6 to 6:30, and then the regular meetings start at 6:30.
Thank you.
So the next one would be Quad States Local Governments Authority. Last year, Steve Morgan sat on that one. I reached out to Mr. Hillier for a schedule of when their meetings are going to be for 2021, and I have not heard back from him yet. They have been meeting by Zoom the last several times, just as everybody else is. So I don't know if anybody else would be interested in serving.
I'm more
on
than happy to do that if that's, it's one of those ones where I, at least, I've spoken with Mr. Hillier before and discussed with him, so I'll be happy to serve in that capacity.
We do pay dues to be on this committee, so it would be nice to have representation.
That was going to be my next question. We've paid dues. Do we just, it's yearly, Rika? Is that what it is?
It's yearly. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And we all still think it's important?
I think that's a future discussion item simply because I would need to be educated. I don't know if you would need to be educated similarly.
No, I mean, from my prior experience, I think that it's important, but I just
Okay.
want to make sure, we should discuss it, not just arbitrarily
So-
continue.
Again, I would say with my lack of experience with it, I would want to go and get some information before I said yes or no
Sure.
in regards to that.
That is something that can be discussed at budget time.
And I can also let you know when the dues are come for renewal, and maybe we could talk about it at that time in concurrence with the budget.
Okay?
And so the last one that I have vacant would be the BLM Roundtable. They've been meeting via Zoom, but they do meet here in Ridgecrest at the Ridgecrest BLM the majority of the time. They last met on December 17th. Prior to that, it was November 19th, so they have been meeting once a month via Zoom.
I wouldn't mind doing that, unless somebody else is just motivated, if they want to be part of it.
First come, first serve. Kyle, you got it.
Okay.
Okay, so that seats everybody, all the council members. The only thing we need is the 3 citizens committees, and we'll put that back on for next meeting.
Okay?
Thank you,
you.
Rika.
Thank you, Rika. Next item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the execution of a fixed firm price quote and create a purchase order payable to Horizon Construction Company International for replacement of the corporate yard gas pumps in the amount of $48,306. And Mr. Smith.
All right. So in fiscal year 2018, the city received $41,244 in state of good repair grant funds pertaining to transit projects. At that time, staff identified the Corp-Yard gas pumps for replacement. Additionally, staff later identified the opportunity to expand the Corp-Yard gas pumps to include one additional unleaded gasoline pump. In May of 2020, city staff were contacted by Gordian, a professional services company, through the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Program about the possibility of using Sourcewell's pre-bid construction task contracts for city projects. City engineer Lauren Culp identified the Corp-Yard gas projects or gas pumps as a good exploratory project for this process. Mr. Culp and I worked with Gordian and their subcontractor, Horizons Construction Company International, to develop a fixed firm price quote for the project in the amount of $48,306. City staff identified funds within the existing transit fiscal year 21 professional services budget to cover the difference between the original state of good repair grant funding and the total reflected in the firm fixed price quote. So staff is asking council to approve a resolution authorizing the execution of this firm fixed price quote and the creation of a purchase order in the amount of $48,306 payable to Horizon Constructions Company International.
And the actual additional cost that we're talking about is $7,000.
Correct. Yeah, $7,000 and some change.
Yeah, any council questions?
So do we get this every year? Do we just get this grant every
The
year?
state of good repair, we do currently, yes. It's a SB1 grant.
Okay.
So we are currently receiving it. We've used some of the later funding for the city solar an EV charger project that's going to happen at Corp-Yard, and then we intend to use most likely future funds to fund replacement of vehicles into the EV vehicles.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
No, I can say that if, I don't know if the public has any, if the public would have these same questions. I know it took me reading through a few times to make sure I understood the relationship between Sourcewell and, was it Gideon?
Gordian.
Gordian is the other one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it took me a second to step through and get that. So I don't know if you, like, for the sake of the public, if you wanted to step through how we use those.
All right. So Sourcewell is it's like a extension of Minnesota local government that was created as cooperative purchasing. They maintain various like pre-bid contracts for different things in addition to just these construction tasks. And then through, I have it in my staff report here, through the Minnesota statute 4759 and then California Government Code 6500, we are allowed to purchase off of their contract as a public entity. So that's kind of the relationship. It did take a little bit to just to explore kind of how this works and figure it out, like in performing, this project and writing the staff report. It is a little convoluted.
Sure. No, thank you. Yeah, I had to read it a few times. So I just wanted to just bring it up, make sure people were thinking about it. But the staff report was great. Thanks.
Yeah.
And this isn't our first time using Sourcewell. We've used Sourcewell previously.
We have to purchase a prefabricated bathroom for the bus stop that's in Inyokern, and then Streets uses it to purchase some supplies. I'm not sure what their specific supplies are. As far as I know, this is the first time we've used it for any sort of like these construction tasks projects, though.
And we can use it in the future.
We can use it in the future.
Okay. Any other council questions? Any questions from the public?
Yes, there was a call.
I saw the blue light. That's why I could see the blue. Red or green?
No, then you're good.
Not so much, but my eyes are looking for the blue.
Go ahead, caller.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Matthews.
Yeah, hi, Steve Matthews. I got a question on this Horizons International Construction or whatever they are. Where are they based? And is there Are they within the United States?
Yes, they're based in Orange County.
Okay. So, but they do work elsewhere internationally too?
I'm not specifically sure if they do work internationally, but I know the word international is in their business name.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Matthews.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? Seeing none, do I have a motion for approval of the resolution authorizing the execution of the fixed firm price quote?
Motion approved.
A motion by Mr. Blades,
Second.
second. Roll call.
Mayor Bruin,
Aye.
Mr. Mauer,
Aye.
Mr. Heyman,
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam,
Aye.
Mr. Blades,
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Fantastic. Next item is the introduction and first reading of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ridgecrest adding portions to the Ridgecrest Municipal Code regarding accessory dwelling units, ADUs.
Give me just a second to get everybody online. Heather, give me a second to get Lloyd on the line.
I'm with you.
Okay. All right, Heather, go ahead.
Good evening, Council. I'm sorry I can't be there tonight, but we're going to try to get through this. So I have for you an item on accessory dwelling units. Next slide. And one more. So what this is an update for our municipal code. Accessory dwelling units are also called ADUs, and these are independent living facilities in residential zones. Recent changes to the California legislature have made changes that encourage ADUs to increase the housing in California. These new regulations address barriers, they streamline the approval process, and expand potential for accessory dwelling units. The way these regulations are currently written, staff would be required to follow the state's ADU requirements if this ordinance is adopted or not. By adopting this ordinance, however, we are able to permit ADUs and add some additional limitations. Staff has prepared this ordinance to meet the minimum requirements of these regulations. Next slide. This ordinance permits ADUs in all areas. The ADU structures will not count against the allowable density per the zoning code. Permit applications will be approved at a staff level with no public hearing. The ADUs cannot be sold separately from the primary unit, and the total floor area cannot exceed 1,200 square feet. But staff was also able to include provisions that limit the rental terms so that they have to exceed 30 days. Next slide. The Planning Commission heard this on October the 27th. They made some recommended changing in the language because there's some confusing language regarding parking lots. They also included language to restrict additional ingress and egress additional points in relation to the ADUs, and they clarified that this ordinance would remove the current code section called units. After that hearing, staff did receive additional comments that there was some conflicting language throughout, and we did make changes. So what you have before you tonight cleans up all of those. Next slide. The process for this ordinance included the public hearing for the Planning Commission and the Planning Commission's recommendation to Council. This is the first introduction, and there will be a second reading. Upon approval, then the ordinance will be submitted to the Housing and Community Development Department for their review. Staff recommends approval. If you have any questions, I can answer those.
Yes, I have one question. This is Mike Mauer. The changes that were made after the Planning Commission approval, were there any major changes made?
Some of the changes included, the way the law was written is that it had to have an owner occupancy, but that was waived until 2025. Originally, we included language saying that it was waived till 2025, but we did receive comment that it was just confusing. So we went ahead and struck it just to make sure that it was clear and we wouldn't have any additional comments.
So I have, Heather, just in explanation, so these units most likely are prefab units that are kind of brought in, is that correct?
There are
May I take that? May I take that one, Heather?
Yeah.
This is Lloyd Pilchin, City Attorney. If I may, and Heather, by all means, correct me, but these are often what used to be called granny flats, and they are often conversions of garages. So, in my own experience, I have not seen many prefab ADUs. What about you, Heather?
Yes, there are a lot of companies that are responding to California's changes and are making prefab. But as far as I understand, right now, all of those manufacturers are kind of backed up, so it could be a while before anybody would be able to get access to those.
Fair enough.
I'd like to respond to that too, if I can. If you look at most of the lots in Ridgecrest, would not allow to bring another unit on. So in Ridgecrest, other than the larger lots that might have room for them, for example, most new subdivisions, they pretty well cover the lot. They have a very small backyard. There wouldn't be a place to put them. Ridgecrest Heights lots would not have a place to put them. So I think in those areas, the only way this would be implemented would be converting the garage.
And that makes perfect sense. My question towards the prefab board was not so much that, but the deeding of such structures. I understand from the conditions that they can't be sold separately, but if I apologize, but I'm envisioning the type of two-story. Apologize, but I'm using my common sense approach where I've seen the Home Depot two-story storage type unit that meets the square footage requirement, but can be picked up and lifted and moved. And then, is there anything that requires it to be deeded or to be tied to the land, similarly as a modular home is tied to the property through concrete bearings or through something of that nature? And I'm just curious if there's something that actually ties the ADU to the land.
Do you mean, this is Lloyd, do you mean physically tie, like you bolt your house to the foundation?
No, I'm meaning more from a legal property rights perspective.
Right. So, usually when I think of tying in the legal sense, I'm usually thinking about tying two lots in the case of where you have a house that straddles a lot line. You then, the fact that you have a house straddling the two lots means that they are effectively tied together. You can't sell one without the other. So I'm not sure what type of a legal covenant would tie the ADU to the lot, because the owner could always decide to get rid of it.
But the general requirements say that they can't. That's why that was what was leading me down that question. Is Section 2 general requirements specifically states the ADU cannot be sold or conveyed separately from the primary residence.
But it could be torn down and got rid of.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So the part about can't be sold separately. It's like you're talking about toys can't be sold separately. Parts sold separately. That regulation involves you can't do a subdivision. You have a primary house, you have an ADU, and if you wanted to sell the ADU separately, you would have to meet the subdivision lot size requirements to be able to split your lot in two. And if your lot is the minimum lot size, you are simply not going to be able to subdivide that lot any further. So you can rent that property, but you can't sell it as a separate property.
Okay? So the ADU
Also-
itself. Yeah. Not the
If I
physical
may.
structure, but the land on which the ADU stands. The physical structure can be sold, moved, destroyed at the leisure of the property owner. It's not deeded to the land. Okay, thank you.
I have a question. This is Councilman Heyman. On page 3, it says, there's on the top of the page, says the city shall ministerially and without discretionary review or hearing act on the application to create an ADU or junior ADU within 60 days from the date of the city receives a completed application. If there is an existing single-family or multifamily dwelling on the relevant lot. If the permit application to create an ADU or junior ADU is submitted with a permit application to create a new single-family dwelling on the relevant lot, the city may delay acting on the permit application for the ADU, and then it goes on. But my question is, on where it says it's submitted with a permit application to create a new single-family dwelling, that's in reference to a new home being built, or is that in reference to the ADU acting as a single-family dwelling?
That's in relation to a new home.
Okay.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah, absolutely.
Heather, this is Solomon. Can a homeowner rent couple of rooms and a restroom as an ADU from the main house itself?
I'm sorry, I'm having a difficult time.
I think Mr. Rajaratnam asked if an owner of the property could rent some rooms inside the residence themselves.
It's a good question. The ADU ordinance should provide for that. Do you know offhand, Heather, whether it specifically says that?
It doesn't say anything specific to individual rooms in the house, but you can rent the house and the ADU separately without having an owner occupancy.
Okay.
Technically, you could actually convert the garage as well and have a junior dwelling unit, the house, and the accessory dwelling unit.
So are there any restrictions on number of bedrooms for ADU?
There are no restrictions.
Well, I'll add this. The restriction is that in order for it to be a dwelling unit under the building code, it has to have certain amenities. For example, bathroom and I believe kitchen is required. So that in itself would prevent just a single bedroom from being called an ADU.
It also can't exceed 1,200 square feet, correct?
That's correct.
So they can't build an entire the 3,000 square foot attachment and call it an ADU.
No.
So on page 2, Heather, section 106.28. I'm a little confused with the language there. Can you explain that to me? It says accessory buildings may be erected detached from the principal building. Such accessory structure shall not be used as a dwelling unit. What does that mean?
This is a clarification of the code. So accessory structures is just saying that accessory structures are different than accessory dwelling units. So an accessory structure could be a shed or a garage, but that's not a dwelling unit.
Okay.
Like a shed.
I guess another way to put it is that one way to put it is that an accessory dwelling unit is one type of accessory structure.
Okay, thank you. Going to page 5, item K. So it talks about the fees. It says the city council may establish fees. So is it going to come back to us again for establishing the fee? Why can't the planning commission or even city manager decide on that?
The intent is going to be at the second hearing of this, we will establish a fee.
Okay, thank you.
By resolution?
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Lloyd's?
I'm good.
Very good.
Any other
Okay.
comments?
Yeah, something real quick. This would be more for Ron, I think. Maybe you and Heather. I noticed in the ADU handbook you sent out, Heather, so I appreciate that. We get down to AB 671, that the states requiring local agency housing elements to include a plan and incentivize promotes the creation of ADUs. What is our plan to incentivize ADUs? Now, I'm not putting you on the spot here, Ron or Heather, that I'm expecting some concrete plan. I just didn't know if this is something we thought about.
Heather, did you hear that question? What's our plan to incentivize ADUs?
Okay, so the Department of Community Development has a lot of resources for us to have available. So I would say that our plan would be to put on our website some information on how people can proceed with doing ADUs and what the requirements are, some checklists, so they'd be able to identify if their property would work.
You know, another thing that's going to eliminate those is parking requirements include one space per one bedroom. So if you build a 3-bedroom ADU of 1,200 square feet, which would be pretty small bedrooms in 1,200 square feet, by the way, you'd have to provide 3 more parking spaces over what you have for your individual home.
Yeah, because it says existing driveway, but you not only have to be able to provide a driveway, but also, because you couldn't use the public as a parking space qualifier.
You can't use street parking
As a qualifier.
Yeah, you can't use street park, in the code, you can't use street parking as a qualifier.
The person would have to actually develop parking spaces in addition.
Or if there's a double driveway, and he builds a 1-bedroom, he probably meets that code now.
But a 3-bedroom, he's
But
going
a
to have.
3-bedroom would require more space. I think just the size of the individual residential lots are going to limit this to substantially.
Primarily Old Town.
Yeah.
Okay, any other council comments? Any public comments on the matter? I'm seeing none.
I do have one more brief question. So does an ADU increase the square footage or tax base on the primary dwelling?
Question.
Heather, did you get that question? Does the addition of the ADU, is that included on the assessment for the property taxes?
I don't know. Lloyd, do you have
Well, here's what I do know, is the county tax assessor looks at all building permits that are pulled. So that's why if you build an addition onto your home, the tax assessor is going to add that to your assessment. So I think it would come down to whether this was already an improved portion of the house, or whether you're truly converting something to more usable space. I would think that a garage conversion would increase your county tax assessment, but each individual property owner should consult their own consultant about that.
Thank you.
You pull a permit, they're going to inspect.
Yeah.
When they inspect, they're going to reassess.
Yeah, as part of your inspection, you have to put what your estimated value is. So that would kick in.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly.
So in other words, the ADU ordinance is no different than putting on any addition onto your house.
Yeah. It'd get reassessed for that, the new square footage. Okay.
Yeah, I guarantee the county tax assessor does not miss any permit.
That adds to the possible revenue stream that's not going to be missed.
That's right.
Okay, any other council comments? Hearing none, we need 2 separate motions first. The first motion is to waive the reading in full of an ordinance of the City Council of Ridgecrest, California, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ridgecrest, adding portions to the Ridgecrest Municipal Code regarding accessory dwelling units. Do I have a motion?
Well, since you read it, I'll make that motion.
Motion to waive reading in full.
Oh, no, you did right, sir.
I thought I did
Yeah,
right.
we did right.
But normally, the person making the motion reads that. You don't have to.
I would like to make a motion. Okay, I'm still learning here, people. Still learning. I would like to make a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Roll call vote?
Mr. Bruin,
Aye.
Mr. Mauer,
Aye.
Mr. Heyman,
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam,
Aye.
Mr. Blades.
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Second, I'd like to make a motion to introduce by title only an ordinance of the City Council of Ridgecrest, California, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ridgecrest, adding portions of the Ridgecrest Municipal Code regarding accessory dwelling units. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote?
Mayor Bruin,
Aye.
Mr. Mauer,
Aye.
Mr. Heyman,
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam,
Aye.
Mr. Blades.
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries. And I will let you know that the second reading is not going to come back until February 3rd because of public noticing requirements. So it will miss one meeting.
Okay.
Good job, guys. Thank you. I'm not going to hang up this one.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Heather.
All right, take care.
I actually think the ADUs is a very exciting possibility. I can see it and from a B&B and from a perspective of providing additional revenue, especially to the community. So that's fantastic.
You see it as a possible what?
B&B, Airbnbs?
You have to rent it for 30 days at a time, so you couldn't rent it out for a weekend.
No, but right now with the man camps and what we have developing, I mean, I can certainly see, I can even see smaller people just needing.
I do believe the ordinance restricts Airbnbs. It restricts it to, you cannot rent it for less than 30 days.
Okay, I'll rephrase that then. I wasn't trying to specifically, I'm meaning that we have people that are looking for smaller rental units.
Yes.
Right.
That it provides a housing alternative.
Perfect.
The word the Airbnb was the first indicator.
And they could do it as an Airbnb as long as they got it for at least 30 days.
Yeah. Yeah, my first thought was, we got more people to put their head to sleep. Okay, next item is committee reports. Committee meetings are scheduled on the website. Finance Committee, we have not met yet.
Have not met.
Not met in this new year yet.
Correct.
Infrastructure Committee,
We have not met yet either. We meet on the fourth Thursday of the month.
okay. Economic Development,
Have not met.
has not met yet. Quality of Life, well, we have met. The Quality of Life Committee met on Tuesday, the 5th. Do we normally have the Quality of Life staff report or just the council reports typically, correct?
Just the
Council.
Council, perfect. Just want to make sure. We did once again continue our discussion regarding the SPP grant program for the pool and engage in public discussion in regards to safety features that we are looking for in that facility. I want to thank the about 10 people that participated in the conversation. We had some really good insights on both safety features from lighting. We covered several, specifically
Solar.
lighting, solar,
Cameras.
cameras, and then
Fencing.
the ability to have it pushed away from the street versus directly still along the street side. Those were all good conversations. There were some additional conversations about the indoor versus outdoor security potential, and then certainly some conversations about how that could affect renting facilities and of those natures. Once again, very good conversation in regards to the SPP grant program. The committee requested that the resolution for the grant come before council at the next meeting. I will be happy to address at that time why the committee recommended that, but largely to make sure that the staff is working on a project that this entire council is in support of.
Correct, and to add to that, we'll have some tentative numbers on the O&M cost for, to give to the council so that we can look at the yearly cost of the pool. So, yep.
Yeah. And
When do you hope to have those, Doc?
We are hoping to have that submitted.
I think for the council,
maybe
we
for
can
the
probably get it to you
next
ASAP
council meeting was.
to have some time to look at it.
Yeah.
I think the biggest challenge is it's largely an opinion-based report. Then the next thing we talked about was the CBBG grant program is going to be combined with the, I know I'm missing the acronym.
The
I'm
per
gonna get it.
capita.
The per capita grant. And those two combined, we're looking at doing shade structures and improvements to the 2 lower softball fields at Leroy Jackson Park. That would also do some of the in-ground, infield repairs with the clay. That discussion also went on to discuss the concrete footings that they were going to be going into, and are those of nature, or do they need repair at the same time? We talked about the fence structures and the conditions of the fences and the conditions of the other facilities around there, and the committee recommended moving forward with that block grant application.
So, and I'd like to add to that the current existing fields that they're looking at the improvements. This picture won't do justice, but currently there are no shades over the dugouts or the bleachers that the spectators sit on, and so I really commend the staff on working on this project because it's putting money back into the maintenance and bettering of the existing areas that we have in the parks, and so I think it's a real vital thing to have shade over in this hot desert over our dugouts and over those bleachers. And so I really commend the staff for putting this together and improving upon and maintaining our existing areas that we have. So my hats off to you guys, Narissa and Jennifer.
And I don't think there's anything else that I would have specifically to report.
Nope, that covered it pretty thoroughly.
Okay. RACVB.
Honorable Mayor and members of council, my report tonight is for the meeting that we had in December. We're also going to have an upcoming meeting on January 20th at 9 a.m. in case anybody is interested. We just have a few different things that we're updating. Our film website is getting revamped and updated with new filming locations. There has been a very big interest as we went on a marketing campaign that targeted scouting, location scouts for filming. And so we are revamping that. We also have a new design for the billboard off of 395. So that should be going into effect soon. And we also have put up a sign on the building for the new California Welcome Center. And that is the extent of my update, unless there are any questions. All right, thank you.
Other council questions? Thank you. Other committees, boards, or commissions? Any reports? Hearing none. City manager report.
I just have a couple of things. Just for information for the council, the Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority will be submitting a Prop 68 grant tomorrow to the state. In that grant is a request for about $4.7 million for the wastewater project for the city for us to be able to complete design and environmental. So that's a significant amount of money if that grant is awarded to go toward our new wastewater facility project. I did send the council just prior to this meeting a copy of that draft grant application for your review. There's a lot of interesting information in there that you may want to just touch on. That's all I have at this time.
Okay, great.
Ron, I'd like to ask, I get questions every once in a while from constituents about the activities of the police department. I know they keep track of tickets and arrests and things like that. Can we get a report of comparing this last year to the previous year? Maybe next meeting or something to...
Sure, if we want to, we can bring it to council, bring it to committee. If you want to council, I can have Chief McLaughlin come back and provide a report on whatever stats you guys want. You're looking at just traffic-related stats, or you're looking at just crime?
Well, I'd say arrests and, just kind of see how our trend is. I think he does.
We do it every year during the budget process. But yes, we can put on the agenda for.
I know when we've given some of these awards, like the one Officer of the Year, talked about how many DUIs he issued and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can have the chief make
I get varying comments. we don't see police out on the streets enough, and others, well, we don't really want to see the police out on the streets. So I just think it'd be interesting to.
Yeah, we can put that on the next agenda. Either the chief will do it, or maybe Captain Dampier, since he's at the meeting today. Yes, absolutely, we can do that for you guys. If there's anything specific that either council person or mayor wishes to have on there, please reach out to the chief, and we can include that. So what I understand is just a crime stat comparison from 2019 to 2020, just to kind of give an idea.
Show how the trends are going.
Yes, absolutely.
I noticed my wife and I went down to Lancaster Tuesday, and we saw a Ridgecrest police car coming back up 14. I assume he probably just delivered a prisoner to Mojave.
Correct.
Or hopefully we're being able to deliver most of them to Mojave and not take them all the way to Bakersfield.
There's a significant amount due to COVID that goes straight to Bakersfield.
Oh, okay.
So yes, we can.
That just adds more time on our police officers. It's
correct. It's been a very challenging time for all law enforcement, including our own officers, with obviously COVID and then going back to the earthquakes, and so it's challenging times. I know that our police department does a very good job of keeping our community safe, which we have for several years. Which a lot of that goes to that special tax that we have. Measure V, that helps fund, a significant portion of the police department. Without that, we wouldn't be able to staff what we have.
I like seeing the police officers out of the street personally, and I very seldom go out of the house where I don't see at least one or two officers out on the street. It reminds me to make sure to put my seatbelt on.
And stay off the
I feel like I see them behind me all the time. But
and stay off the phone.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ron.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Grant, can you give us an update on the COVID situation in our city, how things are going?
Yes. Well, as everyone knows, obviously we're still in condition purple, which is the worst infection rate. I believe as of this last week, the county has had anywhere between 500 and 1,000 infections a day on average. As you've noticed, our local numbers have gone up from a very low amount, probably just above 100, to close to 1,000 here in the last 6 weeks. We've had a significant increase in infections within our community. If you do look at, compare our community with other communities within Kern County, our infection rate is still low. However, it is still significant. It's just not as great as it is in other, places like Tehachapi, Cal City, Delano, and such. I know that we still have, for the city aspect of it, we entered a contract with Dr. Reen's office for rapid testing, which is working out very well for us. So if we have any questionable exposures, we can send our staff over there for a test and get the results back that day. So we've got that in place. As you can see, our council meetings are still closed to the public. Our building, some aspects of the building is open to the public, finance, city clerk, and the building counter, primarily because we have the safety precautions of the glass shields in place, so those are open. The police department lobby is still closed. You still have to hit the intercom to be able to get in. We do have a mandatory mask wearing within the police department due to a couple of exposures. So otherwise, and I do believe we just came out with another COVID policy that was released today for our employees as part of the Cal OSHA requirements. So we've been keeping up on as much as we possibly can and obviously tracking our way through this. I know that the vaccine has been made available to our frontline officers, and I'm not sure when it's going to be available to the other essential workers within our community, hopefully within by the end of January, first part of February. We may see some of our other city staff on the front lines that may be offered the vaccine. That's all I have at this point in time. Any other further questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
I have one. Did you have one, Kyle?
Yep, real quick. But so at what point are we going to make the decision? So we've had to go back and forth a few times of letting the public back into the building. Are we waiting to get out of the purple tier? Is that what we're waiting to get out of to let people back in? I'm sure people are just, I appreciate the interaction. I'd rather people come and interact with us. So, but I also understand being careful, right? I wasn't, I get it. I just want to bring it up because I think the public's curious. They want to know.
I think the judgment at this point in time, because of the last 6 weeks and the significant number of new cases, I think it was wise to, shut down the community meetings for a period of time. But I think, once we get back into red or once the infections, lower, or if we have, the wide availability of the vaccine within our community, then I think it would be, prudent to open up. Obviously, I believe that we should be as open to the public as we possibly can. It's not easy doing these meetings. We had, to cancel a meeting last night because of, technical difficulties. But hopefully by, the second meeting in February, we're going to be up and running, and we're going to be able to provide more transparency to the public as we'll be able to offer, people to be able to call in the future, which we didn't have before. So I guess I'm looking a little bit for direction from the council. I think right now it's probably wise to stay closed to the public. I think once the infections start dropping, I think then we could reopen the meeting with certain levels of precaution.
Sure. So I've been happy, of course, and I think the rest of us have too. I can't speak for everybody, but to defer to you, and you always make those decisions, and it's been great. I just didn't know if at what point we were going to.
We monitor. I think a lot of it has to do with we obviously have to protect staff, which is one of our most important duties that we have, and make sure the staff feels comfortable. We've been extremely lucky that we've had only a few infections of city staff, knock on wood. So we're trying to keep it that way. So as soon as we can open up safely, we will. I know that, some members of the public are going to, they're going to have issues with it. And I feel for them because I know that some people like to come. But at this point in time, I think we're better to stay closed, at least for the short period of time in the future.
I know you've kept in contact with the county health department occasionally. I know I go on their website quite often to see the daily and deaths and everything, but they have a real nice chart that shows the underlying deaths of people that died. They stopped posting that on October 1st. Have they given a reason why?
No, it's still there. It's
still there, but it isn't updated. It hasn't changed since.
Correct.
October.
Yeah, it hasn't not been updated, and I can ask them next Tuesday if they're going to update it.
Yeah. So they were updating it almost daily, and they haven't updated it in 3 months.
I will say from my experience in working deaths within the county, sometimes it takes a little bit of information, a little bit of time for the death certificate to be issued, for those determinations to be made.
But not 90 days.
It can actually be quite longer, yes.
Really?
Yes, absolutely.
Because right now it says that it was reviewed on December 30th, but it was updated on October 1st. And they used to change that on a regular basis. I don't think they're waiting for death certificates, but maybe they were.
Let me ask that question.
I appreciate
I can get hold of Georgiana and see if that may just be a typo. Yeah. It may just be they haven't updated that number.
I don't want to bash on current public health, but if you also look at the extraordinary lack of recovery, apparently, by people.
Well, in all fairness, they when I recover, I don't necessarily report that I've recovered.
But you could logically report that if they went into quarantine 30 days ago and there's been no change, that they have likely recovered in terms of statistically. There seems to be some certain statistic question marks that if you look at if you look at that bar graph, from December, the 3/4 of all infections are in quarantine right now. So, I was going to simply say that Mr. Suver at the Rotary this week, really kind of called us out, and there's at least 3 of us that heard it for sure. But more importantly, is he said that we are in a local spike for absolute certainty, and more importantly is I think asking him to return at a meeting in the future to just keep us up to date would not be a bad thing. Because we went through that emergency crisis period where everyone was talking We all got comfortable, but we are experiencing that second wave spike inside the community. I know I'm experiencing it in my business. I'm sure Kyle's experiencing it on the base. I probably wouldn't hurt just to get an update on how the hospital's managing directly to the council.
One interesting thing he mentioned is most of the infections are coming from outside. It's not because of our restaurants are open or anything. So that was
family gatherings.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Any future agenda items? Hearing none. Mayor and council comments. Mr. Blades?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Solomon?
I just want to wish everybody Happy New Year. 2019 was bad because of earthquakes and 20 was bad because of COVID. So I really wish this year would be a great year for all of us. So we are strong and Ridgecrest is strong. So we will get through this. Thank you.
Mr. Amon?
I just have a public safety announcement, I guess we could call it. Mike, you're still on the Kern, or on the East Kern air pollution control? Do you mind if I read a little bit on the?
Oh, no, they send me those about every month, and I try to put them out to the council. So.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And so I'll just touch briefly on it. Primary topic was fireplace safety. And so they make some recommendations for public safety on fireplaces. They recommend that you keep a fire extinguisher on hand, an up-to-date fire extinguisher. Make sure that you install carbon monoxide detectors and smoke detectors in your house. Watch for soot buildup in the chimney of your fireplace. And you can have your chimney swept yearly, which is what they recommend. And in lieu of the earthquakes from last year, I think it's really recommendable to have your fireplace inspected anyway for cracks and any damage that may have occurred to the fireplace that could induce leaking of carbon monoxide or noxious fumes into your house. Some other basics was burn firewood only and don't burn painted wood and other non-pure firewood type materials. And that's pretty much the highlights. A person could go on to the East Kern Air Pollution Control Board and probably look at this in more in depth, but just some basic safety tips on burning firewood during the winter months that we're seeing right now. Anyway, that's it.
Okay, Mr. Maurer? Okay, so I do have a comment and a statement, and I debated on how I wanted to do this, but the events tonight certainly helped me make up my mind. I'm going to go and take the mask off for YouTube's purposes so I can be heard clearly.
Since you mentioned that, I know that Mr. Suvers criticizes the past for wearing it, but I have a hard time understanding some people. Solomon, you talk quietly, and then you put the mask on. And so if you're going to wear your mask, you really need to get into the microphone and speak louder.
Are you saying I'm loud, Mike?
You're soft too, Kyle.
Loud and proud.
I think the mayor sets a good example of how loud we should talk.
And I'm holding back my voice. I think that the key is that, Jim, we're listening and we do hear you. And I think that's what, I know that's what my heart wanted to make sure that the community heard, is that we are taking this very seriously despite what others may say. So, my comments are, this is my second meeting, so this is my opportunity to kind of set some things straight on my record and then not deal with them again. And one of those for me is just how this council has ran for some time, and so I prepared some that I'm just going to read, and I'm going to say it, and I'm going to be done with it. Which is, during the December 16th council meeting, former Mayor Breeden spoke candidly to Mr. Mike Neal about his anger over the council chambers being closed due to COVID. She said, "If you are listening to Mr. Neal and assuming he is speaking for us, that we don't want you here, that is incorrect. As I sat and listened and prepared for my new role, I was happy that Peggy stood up for the city and its decision against yet another of Mr. Neal's speeches about how our local government leadership is out to silence the public. The truth is that no one within the city government has intentionally or maliciously silenced any member of this public. If anything, we've allowed a small handful of people who believe their opinion is the public opinion to control the dialogue. So, since I expect to be a controversial person to this community, and since Mr. Matthews and Mr. Neal, as he stated today, have declared me not his mayor, I figured why not, let's just cut through the fact and speak honestly, frankly, and without reservation. So let's all go back to our school years and think about Aesop's fable, The Boy Who Called Wolf. The story is about a little boy who cries wolf so often that when the wolf appears, no one comes to his aid. The moral stated at the end of the Greek version is this shows how liars are rewarded. Even if they tell the truth, no one believes them. Teachers have used the fable as a cautionary tale about telling the truth. However, when dealing with the moral behavior of adults, I would ask you to consider this question. When we are alarmed with imaginary dangers in respect of the public, till the cry grows quite stale and threadbare, how can it be expected we should know when to guard ourselves against real ones? Our community loves political alarmism and has served as a tool for Mr. Neal for far too long, in my opinion. Mr. Neal, you have cried wolf so many times that your message has lost its relevance. You do not represent the public. You do not represent the future of our community. The events yesterday at our nation's capital only further this argument that extremism and alarmism do not support healthy discussion and debate. We each hold a right to peaceful protest and debate. However, the type of disruptive and violent behavior displayed at the U.S. Capitol is unacceptable. I am sad that the lines of social disagreement have spiraled to this level of violence and anger. We as citizens of the United States are better than this. And if you believe in representative government, then you can't support alarmist behaviors regardless of if they're occurring in Washington, D.C. or Ridgecrest, California. Our community is being filled with new people, new voices, new ideas, and new needs. All of these deserve their place in the fabric of public discussion. But when someone is running around crying wolf over every decision a council makes, it tends to drum the desire of others to speak up. I want to hear from those people. And if it means that I must ignore you, Mr. Neal, so be it. I hope that over my term in office that we can bridge this change when new ideas are welcomed and political alarmism is diminished from every council. We can collectively lift Ridgecrest to a new level of possibilities, but we have to start by not giving the little boy who cried wolf any more of our attention. I'm sorry, but I have sat here and I have listened for 16 years as a citizen who loves this community, and I'm done listening to alarmism and extremism when it comes to the good efforts of the wonderful people that try to make the city even better. And in my role, I want to hear from those people who want to bring me ideas, and I welcome them. And with that, our meeting is adjourned. Have a wonderful evening.